It's that time of year again when everyone asks, what do I get my dad, husband, boyfriend, father, brother, basically any guy in my life for the holidays? Come on, you know we got the perfect gift. That's right, our favorite pants, the perfect jean, are back to take the guesswork out of holiday gift shopping for the guy in your life. Oh, and not only do they have the most comfortable pants and shorts that won't crush a guy's jingle bells, now they've also got the perfect tee. That's right, they've created a t-shirt that takes the same stretch and quality used for their jeans, so a guy can now dress perfect from head to, well, ankle, because they don't make shoes. Mira, I've got the jeans, the shorts, the shirts. La verdad que it's probably the most comfortable outfit I've ever worn. And you know we like to give our listeners a little something something, so use code PERO20 at theperfectjean.nyc to save 20% off your order. That's right, PERO20 gets you 20% off the jeans, the shorts, the shirts, todo! So this holiday, your khakis and get the perfect gift from the perfect jean. And don't forget to use the code PERO20 for 20% off your order.
Hey people, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And
this
this
is
is
season
season
4
4
of
of
Pero Let Me Tell You.
You sound like Beaker. That's my favorite.
Beaker?
Beaker is my favorite. Like, if I have to pick one as Beaker.
I mean, I would have thought Sweetums.
No, Beaker.
Oh,
I love Beaker. Like, I really, really do.
I do. I like all the Muppets.
With that said, everybody, welcome to episode 156.
186.
186. 186.
We're closer to 200 and you're going to put us back?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pero Let Me Tell You. How was everybody's week?
I think everybody had a nice week. We had a very interesting week this week, you and I. We had a very nice surprise happen to us during trivia.
Oh, yes. Yes. But before we go there, thank you to everybody who came out to trivia.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And we had Croquetapalooza.
That's right, yes.
So
Croquetapalooza, trivia.
Thank you to Steph, to Burger Beast.
Yes,
for having us at Croquetapalooza. That's so much fun.
It's always, I mean, I think I'm still working off the croquetas that I had.
You know that I weigh myself in the morning.
So do I.
And the next day, I weighed like 3 pounds more.
Oh, I didn't even.
And I was like,
no.
I know I didn't eat 3 pounds of croqueta, but you know.
Between the croqueta, the sandwich, the Mojo Donut.
Oh my God, yeah, the Mojo Donuts.
Yeah.
Because it's like a dream come true because it's like Mojo Donuts is there and it's like all the donuts you could have.
It really is.
So it's like, for those of you who have not experienced the bliss that is Croquetapalooza, make sure to catch it next week.
Also, Eileen, if you're listening, you need to put that Nochebuena croqueta on the menu.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I mean, yes, you'd be helping out, our friend out, Seth, because that's him and Marcela's biggest event. Yeah. But really, it's one of the best like food related events in Miami.
It's perfectly curated.
Yes,
to really give a little bit of everything that is Miami food.
Yeah, and what I like about it is that obviously we're there for La Croqueta, but It's really a great evening because there's live music, there's a bar, there's dessert, there's entertainment, if you will. So you just don't have to go there, stuff your face, and leave. I mean, although you could do that if you want.
Yeah, far be it from us to tell you not to go and stuff your face.
So make sure to check it out. Well, next year.
Next year,
point.
yes.
Yeah. So, yes, episode 186.
Yes.
So, yes, we were hosting trivia earlier this week. And again, everybody, thank you for coming out to trivia. We're, as you know, trying to make trivia happen in Miami. Yep. And we had like a really funny moment because we were reading the questions and there was a question or an answer that I gave to one of the trivia questions that had to do with Spain. And I said, España Española, just kind of like under my breath a little bit, like not
to me, basically.
Right. Yeah. España Española. And these two people who came to trivia were like, oh, Que Pasa USA. They got the reference right away. But they were like Cuban American from Miami. So no biggie.
No surprise.
But 2 or 3 tables down, this girl was like, oh my God, Que Pasa USA. And we were like, yeah, Que Pasa USA. So we listened to this.
We have to preface by saying this girl
she's like, I'm Indian. So she was, Hindu.
Right,
like Indian from India.
Yeah.
Like she was raised in Indiana,
in the town actually that Buttigieg was the mayor.
Right. So she's Indian in Indiana, and in her Spanish class, they watched Que Pasa USA, and I was like, wow, that is amazing.
Yep.
So who was?
Estamos en todo, caballero. That's the bottom line.
I love that she remembered the episode of when Carmen is like, I'm so embarrassed, and Adela was like, embarazada, and she remembered that specifically, and it's like, wow, because I've always thought about Que Pasa USA as being relevant here and in New Jersey.
Yeah, pockets of places where you've got big Cuban,
like here in New Jersey, maybe
LA,
but
Chicago,
never
Indiana. Yeah, I know, and she was about the same age as us too.
Yes.
So this is, contemporary. It's not like they were showing this in the 70s.
Yeah. So,
But that was a great surprise. Literally, as she said it, we were just like, you're going to be part of the show.
This is going to be part of the podcast.
Just so you know.
So, that I was watching something this week because I don't know why, if it's because it's an anniversary. There was an interview that Brooke Shields released this week.
Oh yes, about her Barbara Walters interview.
Yeah. Well, the Barbara Walters interview part of it is what made the headlines.
Correct. Yeah,
but the interview was about the Calvin Klein ads.
Yeah, it was on it's Dax Shepard's. No,
yes.
it was Rob Lowe's.
So for those
of
you
who
don't
podcast.
remember, it's funny because when I was thinking about this, we don't remember.
Firsthand.
We were too young when that happened.
Yeah.
But when we were kids, we were still living in the Brooke Shields kind of limelight from those ads.
Yeah, things had a longer shelf life.
Right, that lasted many years.
Yeah.
Because Brooke Shields was definitely a name in the mid-'80s, when we were like little kids.
Yeah.
And so, she was still coming off of that.
Yeah, things that had a longer shelf life.
But Brooke Shields, was it in the early 80s or the late 70s? Well, either in the late 80s or early 40 years ago. She did an ad for Calvin Klein, and what was very famous was,
I would say it was probably the first major campaign they did.
Right. Yeah, it was actually. Yeah. She said, nothing comes between me and my Calvins.
Right.
And the commercials were very plain but very suggestive.
Well,
right?
She was how old she was 14?
That's
15?
what we were getting to.
Oh, okay.
Like the content is her there was one where she's like reading a book and she's like saying a quote. There's another one where she's just sitting in a chair, but it's very suggestive.
Isn't there also one where she's topless? I mean, you can't see anything, but she's like lying down. Yeah.
They're very suggestive, right? Even though if you examine them at face value, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And she was 14, 15 years old when she did these. And I started watching a lot of videos of her because in the interview that she gave, she talks about how they would ask her all these questions. And so they put all these like talk shows and interviews and all these like people she sat down to talk to.
Right.
And they would ask her questions about like, oh, have you had sex? Are you a virgin? Like
it was all sex,
what are
sex,
you
sex,
thinking?
Sex.
And and you know what? So then I started thinking, you know what? With all like how far we've come since then,
we really haven't.
Well, no, in the sense that you would never ask a 15-year-old now.
Right. But I think with Brooke Shields, it's weird because, number one...
Oh my God, she was so beautiful. She really was.
Number one, the campaign in and of itself was quote-unquote sexy, right? Maybe if it wasn't sexual. But remember also, she was at that point coming off of having starred in Pretty Baby, where she was 12 years old in the movie, and she was playing a 12-year-old prostitute. So this is also an actress who... don't take this the wrong way, but a lot of her public persona for better or worse, was kind of wrapped up in a sort of weird sex.
But that was, I could see a movie still being done of that, but I can't see a major anything hiring a 15-year-old nowadays
to be topless.
Not even topless, just to be suggestive. Right?
Right.
Like, that would not happen now. So that's why I tell you that it's one of those things that, like, you know, we talk about a lot of times these movements, and sometimes, you know, you say, well, have they taken it too far? Which I don't believe they have. But sometimes it's like, okay, well, now you can't talk about this and you can't talk about that. But that's definitely one of those things that, like, when you really stop and think about it, I mean, they shouldn't be asking a 15-year-old girl or boy, you know,
a child.
Let's broaden the scope. Yeah, these questions like, are you a virgin? You know, what do you think about? Like, that is like beyond inappropriate.
Yeah.
You know,
anything under 18, you're a child. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And that's just icky.
Yeah, it is. And that would not.
No.
That would totally not happen today. But yeah, the interview's out, so.
Yeah, I could see them asking her that now about that in a way of like.
Well, that's what the interview was about.
But I'm saying, but no. But I'm saying, you know, at the time you were a child, and you know, and looking back on it now, do you feel it was too suggestive or too sexual? And you know, had you even had your first kiss, or you know, things like that? I could see it going that route nowadays, like a hindsight. Let's talk about what happened, you know, back in the day.
Yeah. So Brooke Shields, yeah, she was gorgeous.
Yeah,
gorgeous. She had like she had such a. It's interesting because she sort of looked like the girl next door, but she at the same time was also very
glamorous
and very. She was very seductive I mean, I know that that's the way that they portrayed her to be. So you're right in the sense that was the image they built of her, but she was just gorgeous.
I think she was very poised. And very mature in a way, you know, the way that she would conduct herself in interviews and things like that. But then when you hear the stories about her mother, there's a reason.
What's the whole thing with her mom?
Her mother was tremenda, like alcohólica and stage mother, and you know, a terror to work with.
Because she talked a lot about her mom, but they didn't get into the story about her mom.
Yeah, it's a well known that Terry Shields was like just the.
Did she pass away?
I believe she passed away a few years ago. She was like the stage mother from hell. She was her manager. She was an alcoholic, so their relationship was very complicated and from a young age. So again, that may be also why she seemed a little more wise or mature beyond her years, because she probably had to be the adult at home.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, so there's a little bit of that as well. So I wanted to bring something up today that actually ties, I think, a little bit into this week's interview, which is Maria Canals-Barrera from Wizards of Waverly Place and Justice League Unlimited. So did you see the Miami Herald posted in your favorite, an op-ed
about the Latinx?
About Latinx, and don't call us Latinx. You were just pulling it up right now. I literally have the article. I have the article right here.
Go,
so like,
because I was going to talk about it too.
All right. So it's an op-ed. The Herald came out this week.
I actually posted a comment about it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and people. Go ahead.
Okay. So we'll just kind of dive into it. So I'm looking for. So according to this article, there was a recent new national poll by Bendixson and Amandi International.
Right. Do you know who Amandi is?
No.
Right. He's here from Miami. He's very involved in politics, and he's a pollster. He's very well respected.
Okay.
So it has a very credible source.
Okay, that's what I figured. And it's a Miami-based Democratic firm focusing on Latino outreach. So they surveyed 800 registered voters of Latin American descent. It was conducted in mid-November, so this is very recent, and found that only 2% describe themselves as Latinx, which is the gender-neutral term for Latino that, you know, has made its way into the media, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. It says that the term was unpopular no matter the age or political affiliation of the respondents. 68% preferred Hispanic or Latino, Latina was 21%. And then they even went so far as to say, 40% said Latinx bothers or offends them, and 30% are less likely to support a politician or organization that uses the term to discuss the members of that community. Now, I bring it up, number one, because we're Latinos, and so let's bring up Latino things. But this is something you and I have said ad nauseum on this show, which is, at the end of the day, whatever you want to be referred to, let me know. I'll refer to you as, right? Like, I'm nobody to tell you what your identity is or is not. But this whole Latinx thing, it just seems like we're like, let's go create something. And there was a statement in there, which I put my phone away, so I don't remember exactly. But it's like, so in an effort to include everyone, we've decided we're going to anglicize ourselves, and disregard the native language from which it comes
and
from.
they make the whole argument about Latine, that if you really want to have like
a gender neutral, which already exists with Latin, by the way. Latin is there. Just use it.
So,
but I just thought it was fast. And then they even say they're like, or as we do in Miami, call someone Colombian, Peruvian, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Venezuela, like go that route. So the minute I saw it, I was like, okay, I know you're not a fan of op-eds in general.
It's not that I'm not a fan. It's not that I'm not a fan of op-eds. I think op-eds serve their purpose.
But you're tired of everybody having an op-ed every 10 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I get most of my news from NBC.com, and it's like every other thing, every other headline is an op-ed.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I'm going on here to get news.
I just want a headline.
I just want a headline.
Give me facts. Yeah.
I mean, an op-ed like this is something that is worthy of an op-ed.
Right.
So, well, you know what I think about it.
I know you and I are not fans of the term.
We are not fans of the term. And we've always said this time and time again. You know what's interesting? Do you know the very first time I ever heard that song, or that word, was from you?
Really?
Yep. It was an article that you read to me a few years back, and it was somebody who was transgender. And they wanted to use the term Latinx. And I understood it. I was like, okay,
right,
I get it. I still think you could use the word Latin, but I'm not a transgender person, so I'm not
going to tell you how to feel.
Right, how to feel. And I'm not in that space, so I shouldn't be taking that space, right?
I'm not going to dictate what you need to say, right?
And I was like, okay, well, you want to call yourself Latinx? I mean, call yourself Latinx.
Right.
And I've always said it, asterisk. I will call you whatever you want me to call you. If you want me to call you Latinx, I will refer to you as Latinx, and that's fine. And that doesn't bother me whatsoever. My problem comes when you want me to refer myself as Latinx and give me shit or question how progressive I am because I prefer not to be called Latinx. And I don't. And I'm not going to. Because I don't identify as Latinx. I identify as Latin. And I have always...
Actually, you and I have always said Hispanic.
I have always said Hispanic, but I have always used the term to describe myself as Latin. Because Hispanic is one of the... I've never identified with the word Latino, but I've never really... Here in Miami, everybody says Hispanic. So I've always used Hispanic because that's what we use here too. But I've never really also taken that one with open arms either. Okay. So I've always referred to myself as Latin. I would say I'm Latin. I'm Latin,
Or Cuban. Cuban-American.
Yeah. Right. But if you want to talk about
an umbrella,
I'm Latin. That's the word I always used, which is gender neutral.
It is. It's right there, people. And the whole argument of Latinx is we need a gender neutral word. Well, one exists.
Right. So I think that it really, really bothers me because it's something that is being shoved down your throat. And I don't think that it has, with the exception of people that are transgender that want to use it for that term. And again, I understand.
Or gender fluid
right. But, or non-binary. The way the term is being used, or they want it to be adopted generally, right, serves absolutely no form of what is the advancement? Okay, now we're called Latinx. So okay,
now what?
So now what? So okay, we're all Latinx people. Okay, so
what does that mean?
What does that mean? So are we passing immigration reform? Are we are the 11 million undocumented people in the United States?
All of a sudden they're citizens.
Are they citizens? Are we well, what are we doing with this great new,
Right. It's
term?
It's a rebranding that serves no purpose.
Right. And then here to what you're saying, I'm going to read something.
So you said you posted something on
yes,
Twitter.
Because I generally, in 186 episodes, I've made it very clear on what I think of Twitter. And I don't like Twitter. Twitter is evil. It's vile. It's gross. It's disgusting. I have to have Twitter because I'm involved in politics.
The political world.
In the political world. So I just have to have Twitter. But sometimes, even me, that I practice restraint. And I'm... Yes. You know that I really can restrain myself.
The amount of times that I know you want to unrestrain yourself and don't is innumerable.
So someone said something. Espérate. Where can you check your freaking tweets? I freaking hate Twitter. Like,
one more reason to hate Twitter, damn it.
I said something. Okay, here it is. So... in response to the Miami Herald article on how, the Miami Herald op-ed based on the research,
correct,
and the poll that they had taken.
I do think 800 people all things considered, is a very small sample size.
It is, but the findings are not surprising.
No, but I would, again, this is now I'm putting on my marketing hat, right? Where like, if somebody was to come to me with a sample size of 800, I'd be like, I don't know if I'm willing to make an entire decision.
Yeah, fair enough.
An entire decision on my budget based on 800 people.
So somebody, for some reason, this little
nugget of joy
just got to me when they were talking about.
So you replied to somebody who replied to the article. Okay.
So somebody put Tom on, and it's not Tom from MySpace. Tom from Twitter put, in response to the Miami Herald op-ed about people not caring to use Latinx, he said, I guess we should let Miami make decisions for everyone. Now, when I saw that tweet, for some reason, set me on fire, right? So
this boy
Tom,
is on fire.
I look up Tom, and Tom is a white guy from,
Nebraska.
The Bay Area. From the Bay Area, So I'm like,
cosmopolitan.
Yeah. So I'm like, right. So a white guy is telling me,
you're gonna whitesplain,
and my heritage, what we should be called.
Right. You should ask him how he feels about Che.
Right.
You should. Right. I'm sure he has opinions.
While he's having Pabst beer. Anyway. So yeah, he puts, guess we should let Miami make decisions for everybody. My reply was, not at all. But there are over 5 million people in South Florida who are from Latin America, and I think we play a huge part in the conversation. If the term is used in your area, great. But don't be mad that here it's not used. Right? So again,
did you set off a Twitter storm?
Yeah, there are other responses from there. So again, if you want to use that term because I don't know,
because for whatever reason,
who cares? Great.
Use it.
I will call you. But don't give me shit for not using that term. And again, we've said this a million times in Miami. And I think that, people always talk about like, oh, Hispanic people in Miami, Latin people in Miami, whatever. Yeah, we have one of the I can't imagine, I mean, with the exception of maybe California and the LA area and, in Texas, we have to have one of the largest.
We're top 3.
For sure. And most importantly, it's extremely diverse.
That is true.
Yes, the majority of Miami is Cuban, but there's a lot of Colombianos,
Venezolano,
Dominicano, Hondureño, Nicaragüense, Dominicano,
Colombiano.
Aquí hay de todo. I mean, yes, there are a lot of Cubans, but
the only ones I don't trip over often is Uruguayos. I haven't met many Uruguayos.
Flagler is it's all Nicaragüense. Like there's a lot of people, and here nobody does that whole Latinx thing. Here, tú eres colombiano. Tú eres nicaragüense. People don't even say Hispanic or Latin. They're like, I'm colombiano.
Yeah, it's like, oh, where are you from? That's it.
I'm colombiano. Are you freaking... Colombians gave the greatest gift ever, which is pan de bono. I mean...
that's true. God bless you all.
When I have un pan de bono, which is a few times a week, and I shouldn't, I'm like, my God. Que viva Colombia.
And you're not thinking of them as Latinx.
No, I'm thinking of them as Colombian because that's what they are. And that's what they want to be. And that's what they're proud to be. And that's,
again.
Right. And then it's like, okay, does anybody in Latin America, which I think they're the ones who should
set
the bar. Does anybody wake up in the middle of the day, yo soy Latinx?
That is an interesting question.
Just say Latino.
That is an interesting question. I could see them saying Latino, Latina. I could see them
But
saying
they don't.
But I could see. Okay, but I'm saying I could see that one if they're in a platform where they're speaking to the Latin experience, blah 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 blah.
In the United States, not in their home country.
Right. Well, in their home country, they're right.
In your home country, that doesn't exist.
They're whatever they
because
are.
Whether it's Latinx, Latin, Latino, Hispanic, those are all social constructs from the United States, from American society
that we created to kind of lump into a group. Right.
Nobody in Peru says, I am Latino. No, you're Peruvian.
Yeah. The only exception is when Talia sings Mujer Latina.
Well, yes.
But, Talia is always the exception to the rule.
Yes. Right. But, she does sing Amor a la Mexicana.
That's true. Yes. You know what? She balances it out.
Right.
Yes, that's true. That's her contribution.
Have you ever heard of our people, have you ever heard of, like, I've asked this to my parents. I'm like, Latino. Yo nunca oí esa palabra hasta que llegué aquí.
That makes sense.
Right. So over here they have an obsession with terms, with boxes. And then, now it's, the same conversation that we have now with the gay community. Now the gay community all of a sudden is queer. Like, it's
and that used to be a derogatory term.
That used to be a derogatory term. Now, I sort of like the whole, like, we're taking back the term.
Right.
I sort of like that. Right. It's like, okay, we're not going to be defined by this.
We're not going to let you make it a...
Right. We're going to own it. But now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're queer. Like, queer. It's like, what happened to the term gay? Like, now, like, you say gay, does that make me
You're like a dinosaur,
an older millennial? Like,
yeah, you might as well be a boomer.
Right? Am I a boomer now? Because
you say gay instead of queer.
Gay instead of queer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And it's like, who writes these memos? Like,
that is true. When is this decision
who writes?
made?
Because I think that you and I are pretty much in the pulse of things, and sometimes we miss these.
Miss these memos. We do.
Like, who wrote this memo? Like, when did we decide that this is as a collective what we're going to do?
Yeah. I just, again, it's one of those things where, like, dude, and what bothers me is even more so that they keep, like, again, it's like the op-ed says, they're trying to make it happen like fetch. It's like Mean Girls, where there was literally, there was an article, a headline that they used as well. The headline was, Hispanics now qualify for Latinx scholarships.
Are you serious?
It's like, yeah, they always did. It's the same thing. It's not, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's this impetus to show how woke you are that nobody's taking a moment, and this is not just for this is across the board, that nobody's taking a moment to step back and be like, what are we waking up for?
Or from?
What is this rush to be woke? Is it necessary before you start just blanket term using things without even understanding what you're talking about?
That's what I tell you. Like, okay, so we're using the term Latinx. So how is this in the betterment of the Latinx community? Okay, so we have a name now that we like. Okay, so
right, like you said, aside from transgender,
this is kind of like
binary,
in Finding Nemo when the fish are able to get out of the tank
in
the dentist office,
they're like, now what?
They land in the bay, but they're all in plastic bags, and they're like, now what? This is sort of like that.
That is a great comparison.
This is sort of like that. Okay, we're Latinx now. Okay, we're Latinx. Okay. Amor a la Latinx, como dice Thalia.
Now what? So now what do we do? Yeah. That's not, and I think in a weird way, there's this, again, the attempt was to create a term that would somewhat unify us, but the problem with the unification is that, as we have said over the course of 186 episodes, we're not a monolith.
I have always,
and the only thing that really, I mean, look, we have shared values and shared language, but
I've had this conversation with you many times. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. I have always had a problem filling out applications and boxing myself in. Right? Because we're talking now within the construct of the United States.
Right, of course.
Right? My skin color may be white, but I'm not white.
Right.
I'm not white,
right.
nor
demographically.
Nor do I consider myself white, nor do I want to be white, nor do I assimilate, nor do I feel part of like what white Caucasian is in the United States. I'm not. First of all, I wasn't even born here, right?
Right, so there's that.
There's that, right? But I don't identify. But even if there was,
Right.
I don't identify with that whatsoever. So okay, so I'm not that, right? And then again, when then the box is like Latino, whatever, Latino, Hispanic, whatever. I've always had a problem with that because you are trivializing 24 countries in Latin America plus I don't know
Spain.
no like Cuba, Puerto Rico, so that's like in the Dominican Republic like 3-4
like 30.
Let's put 30.
Right.
You are trivializing 30 different countries that of people that, yes, we have shared experiences. We
share the same language.
We share the same language. Most of us are Catholic countries, whatever. There's obvious similarities, but each country has a completely different culture, and different norms and all that, which is a great thing. So now you're lumping this entire group of people together for your purposes, not for our advancement. You're doing it for your purposes. And I'm talking as an American collective.
Right.
You're doing it for your purposes and to make things easier for you in terms of figuring out demographics. I've always had a problem with that. That.
I get wanting to lump us together, even just from, again, I'll put on the marketing hat. It's easier from a marketing perspective to be like, okay, this is what Hispanics consume. This is what, media wise. And when we're looking at ratings, this is, ratings of, African American, Hispanic, Asian. Like, I understand the knee jerk from a data collection.
Okay, but let me ask you this though.
But
and I don't know if this is too deep for this conversation. Do you think that that's a chicken and an egg argument? Because do you think that in terms of data, let's talk about marketing. In terms of data, do you think that Latins, Hispanic, Latinx, whatever, all these Latin American countries and cultures and people, do you think that we're all lumped together and when we come to the United States, we just like, okay, someone Latino, and we kind of ourselves fall into that mold? So do you see how it's a chicken and an egg argument?
I think there is a bit of that. Because again, like you were just saying,
we assimilate because this is what we're supposed to be now that we're here in the U.S.
But like you were literally just saying, like the U.S. is all about filling out forms. So if every time we fill out a form, the option is, well, I'm not Asian, well, I'm not black,
right?
I'm Latino,
right?
Okay,
but even
so
with that,
after a while of all these, after a while, you just kind of go with the flow,
right? And it's just so frustrating because it waters down the cultures of each country, and it's really annoying. And if you want an example of that, which I think it's fascinating, but it goes to what we're talking about. Like a few years ago, I remember, I don't know if it was you or if it was my cousin Roger, who's in media, that told me that, for example, people in Espanol, they have a cover in the West Coast, and a cover in the East Coast, and I'm like, because we are different.
Yes,
we are, and it's not that one is better than the other, one is right and one is wrong. We are different.
It's nuances.
But the thing is that you want us all to be one, and we're not, and that's a good thing.
And that's okay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. That's not. We're not trying to be one. Like we're not talking about like being one as like in peace and unity. We're talking about like in terms of individualism of each country and each culture.
No,
like
the Asians have it worse.
Oh yes, actually,
Asians is worse because Asians. I can tell you. I mean, my background's multicultural marketing, and again, there's horrible things. There's good ways to market and bad ways to market, and I've seen it all. But whenever it comes to the Asian, like there are literally specialty agencies that work just to target Asian Americans because at least we have the common language.
Right.
When you're talking Asian Americans, like, was it Eastern Asian? Is it China? Is it Japan? Is it the Philippines? Is it Vietnam? Like. And they're all
like Pacific
Islander is different. Like, so there's so much more differences.
I actually know because I have two very good friends. That one is Filipino, the other one is Vietnamese, and they hate the term Asian.
Really?
They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. Now we kind of, we're jokesters, so so they kind of take it like, tongue in cheek in a way, in a way. My friend, she's like, because I'm the Asian girl, but they don't like it for that reason. for that reason, because she's like, oh, people think I'm Chinese and I'm not Chinese.
Right.
I'm Vietnamese. I speak a completely different language, completely different culture, completely different food. Like, has nothing to do
At
with
all.
China,
Yeah.
But and actually, you know what? You're right. I think they even get it less. And then I feel that probably we're talking from an American standpoint. Right. American society understands Asian society even less than they
Chinese food, that's it.
Right.
Maybe Japanese because of sushi.
Right. That they understand the Latin community. Like, if you think they have us figured out wrong, imagine Asians.
Imagine Asians. Yeah. Yeah. It's not. We don't have the answers. Is the ultimate takeaway here.
I've always.
But
I tell
it's
you,
frustrating.
But I've told you this. I have always struggled with that box. I remember there was a time in my life I would put other, because I'm like, I'm not going to be defined by a box.
I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah.
I hope you didn't do it when applying for scholarships.
But I say that, and I'm glad you said that. You remember that, so you.
Yeah.
So people know that. For me, this has always been an issue.
This is not new.
This is not new.
It's not about Latinx.
I've always been very opinionated about this.
Yeah.
That it's like, you're putting me in a box. Like, why am I in a box? Like,
yeah.
So now you know what? I'm going to be in an other box.
Exactly. I'm going to be in a box where you don't know what it is. I could be Slovakian.
I could be Antarctican.
Oh. It's just, you're part penguin? That's the only thing that lives in Antarctica. Penguins and polar bears.
Is that even a word? Antarctican?
I guess in theory it would be, right? I'm Antarctican because you're North American, South American, Chinese, Australian. I'm just going down the list of how, I guess, Antarctican.
Okay, today I heard something that blew my mind.
Okay.
And I can't remember where I heard it, but it blew my mind.
God.
So they were talking about the inconsistencies of English language.
Okay.
And how, we have 21, 22, 23, 31, 32, 33, 41, 42, 43, 51, and on and on and on. Right. Why don't we have 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, 10-4, 10-5, instead of 15, 16, 17.
Oh, yeah.
10-1,
10,
10-2, 10-3, 10-4, 10-5, 10-8, 10-9, 20. Why?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, can we solve that one before this whole Latinx thing? Let's prioritize people.
Yeah.
We need to figure this one out. Does that have to do with the fact that we don't use the metric system? I don't know.
Do you know that I think...
Does that tie back to that?
You know how we, how Americans are always looked at as freaking Americans.
Yeah.
They think they're so, whatever. I think that's something people never talk about. But if you want to talk about the biggest finger this country has given to the world, is the fact...
Unit of measurements.
That we are nope, we are not using the metric system, which is used in every single country in the world, except here.
We're like, no, thank you.
I love this meme that I've seen it a few times
I think you
already.
Mentioned it, yeah.
That it was a huge crater or hole that happened in an interstate, and the headline wrote, "Oh, hole the size of 4 washing machines opens up in whatever interstate," right. And somebody was like, "There you go, Americans using anything but the metric system." Yeah, but you know what? It's complicated.
The metric system?
No, because you know what? I also see it from obviously I have an American bias,
right?
So
yeah, we grew up with
because for example, in Celsius, 30 I think is 100.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. Because well, growing up.
Right, si tienes 29, tienes
de templanza. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So 2930 is 100, but in Fahrenheit 100 is 100. But to me, it makes sense that 100 is hot.
Right. 30 doesn't sound like a hot
number, right?
No, I think I blame 90s boy bands.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, está 99. Que calor.
Right.
Not está 27.
I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not wearing
27. Right? But that's such a
That's so not a cold number.
It's
a hot number. Sorry, it's not a hot number.
It's 27. But 100 is totally.
Yeah, you would never have a radio station called Hot 92. It's always Hot 105.
Yeah. So the metric system. You know that the U.S. tried to go
in the 70s, right?
In the 70s, and like all hell broke loose. Can you imagine now? Can you imagine now?
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Like you're well. The story. I have a little story to share.
Share your.
So Ish and I, we're not going to tell our age, but we're at an age where, it's kind of like when Britney sang, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman.
We're old enough to remember the 80s.
Right. We're still young, but we're not, spring chickens either.
Right.
So we're kind of in that age where we kind of already see things from a more mature perspective, but can still hang with the kids.
This is true. I will drink you all under the table.
And the other day, I was in a meeting, and we were talking about different things, and we were talking about an app and a program that we use, and whatever. We have to get certain data and certain reports from this program. And, listeners, like a lot of times, when you want to run a report or something, you get the report and it just has so much data that you're like, but I just need this number.
I need
this
like a line.
Simple number, and you have to go through oodles and oodles of data to get that
Never
number.
mind that you had to wait a long ass time for the report to generate.
Right. So I said something along the lines of, in this meeting, I'm like, well, I just make note of what it is. I literally
write it down.
I
on
literally
paper.
write 1, 2, 3.
Right.
So then at the end of the day, I'm like, I have 24.
Right.
And I wrote 24. Boom. Report. I put it in my report. 24.
Done.
That took me like literally half a second. And this person that was like talking about the reports, who's like, I don't know, 22, was like, wait, am I, when I was talking about the way that I do it, she was like, wait, am I expected to count? And this was in a meeting. And I said, I'm just not going to answer that.
It's best you don't.
No. So.
Yeah, those are those moments where you realize you're not 20 anymore.
Right. And I'm okay with that.
I am okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
I am okay with that.
Because I could count.
I could
count, and I could question why it's not 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, 10-4, 10-5, 10-6, 10-9, 20.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, you know who else can count? This week's guest.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I had no transition other than that. So
I really hope that she can count.
She can count.
She's gone a long way.
She has gone a long way. She has gone a long way. She's a Miami girl, born and raised in Hialeah, as you'll hear in the interview. So as I mentioned earlier, Maria Canals-Barrera is our guest this week. You may know her as playing the mother on Wizards of Waverly Place, or if you are a fan of the animated series Justice League, she was the voice of Hawk Girl. Or if you watched Maria Elena, the telenovela, she was on that too.
Mira, you want to talk about career retrospective? She was in una novela con Lucia Mendez and in a sitcom with Selena Gomez.
That's it. What more do you want?
When you have those bookends,
and she was in an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
That's it. And Fuller House.
And Fuller House. Yes.
Yeah. So that's it. We've got Maria. We've got your retrospective ready for you whenever you want. So without further ado, here's our chat with Maria Canals-Barrera.
Okay, vamos a ver. Turkey, corn, yuca, potatoes, lechon, maduros.
¿Y tú qué haces?
Aquí making a list of all the food I'm going to need this holiday season.
Yeah, tremenda lista. Bueno, I know where you can get everything on your list and more. Sedano's.
Of course, Sedano's has everything we need to make our traditional holiday dishes, whether that's un flan or, stuffing.
And you can even place an order to get all your holiday dishes fully prepped and cooked. Así, you don't have ningún trajín of cooking y todo reguero.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea. I'm going to check out sedanos.com to find one nearest me and the sales for the week.
So visit today. After all, Sedano's has the flavors and savings you love. Oye, mi gente. So, as we mentioned before the break, we are here with native Miamian, star of Camp Rock, Wizards of Waverly Place, Cristela, and my personal favorite, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Maria Canals-Barrera. Thank you so much for joining us, Maria.
Thank you, Ish. It's my pleasure.
Now, listeners, obviously this is an audio medium, but I have to tell you, Maria looks fabulous from head to toe. I mean, it is like...
Thank you.
I got to tell you, since we started this show 4 years ago, there's been like our list of dream guests that we've wanted on the show, and you were one of mine from the start. So to have you on is such a like honor for me, because
Thank you so much. It's very sweet.
you know, I as I mentioned, you know, my favorite Justice League hawk girl, you know, Shaira, you brought so much to that character. I mean,
Thank you.
it was a I'm a DC boy. I mean, like the tattoos on my body alone will tell you that. But you know, she was a B-list character at most in the comics, and she was elevated thanks to that cartoon, in no small part to you, because I mean, you were that character. And so, first of all, thank you for that, for bringing her to life.
Thank you.
But I've always wondered, because being, you know, Cuban American yourself, and you know, again, fellow Miami girl, you know, this is a character who's from another planet, you know, stranger in a strange land and things like that. Did you imbue her with that immigrant, you know, mentality, for lack of a better word right now on the top of my head, that you may have grown up with, you know, surrounded by?
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because I had been in LA already several years when I had the audition, and the sides, the pages that you read to audition, were all about Hialeah missing Thanagar,
Okay.
her home planet. So I substituted my missing Miami. And in fact, several years ago when I was cleaning, I found the original sides, the pages that I auditioned with. And I thought it was so cool because I got to see my notes again and remember what I used. And I totally used missing Miami. And I thought, you know, I missed, because, you know, when you're an American of Cuban heritage, it's a very interesting situation, because you are very much an American, but people see you as a Cuban. And then you're so proud to be Cuban that you say you're Cuban.
Right. That's
So
our
then
instinct.
I say, and they say, "Oh, what part of Cuba are you from?" I'll say, "Well, actually, Miami."
He'll be like, Kendall.
Because for a lot of people whose parents came from a different country, you know, and that country, even though you're an American, that country is so alive at home. So I would, you know, when I came to LA, I didn't know that many people of Cuban heritage here. And I remember going to like a Cuban market, like they had just a few, and I saw like a malta. And I was like, oh, a malta. And I don't even like malta, but I bought it. And I put it in the fridge, and I would look at it, and it would give me the feels. And I never drank it because I didn't necessarily love it. And then if I'd be out and I would hear like older people talking and they had a Cuban accent, I would be like, I would treat them as if they were family and they were total strangers. So there's this thing, you know, that is deep inside of us. And I brought that up to the surface, because you don't realize how Cuban you are as a Cuban American until you leave Miami.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're not really Cuban because you don't get all the double entendres and the innuendos, and you're like, what's the Spanish word for that? And your mother's like, niña, se te está olvidando el español. But then you remember how deep it is. So I jacked all that longing up to the surface, and I remember a little bit emotional. Mm-hmm. And I used that, you know, as Hialeah missing Thanagar, my people. And I think that helped me obviously get the part, because our wonderful director, Andrea Romano, she really wanted us to use our
queen. I mean,
she's fabulous.
I mean,
yeah.
Iconic doesn't even begin to describe her.
Yeah, she's, you know, she was an actor, and she's a brilliant director, and she knows how to speak to actors. Mm-hmm. And so she wanted us to use our real voices and not some cartoony voice. And she's great at, well, you know that we recorded together very often.
Yes.
In the same recording studio, as opposed to by yourself in a sound studio, which is
rare.
It is rare, and it's our job to make it come alive no matter what. But of course, when you have that energy of living people there, embodying the characters and giving you eye contact, it's very exciting, especially as superheroes, when you have to be, you know, super, larger than life, very bold, and full of energy and ready to fight. And you know, I had those love
Yes, that love will eventually become a love triangle.
Yeah, they brought in that.
No,
Claro, they had,
Oye, tremendo escándalo. Like, I mean, but I gotta say, you were probably prepared for that because I saw in your bio that you did Maria Elena, so you were used to telenovela.
do you know what's so funny-ish is that I only did it because it was a job in Miami.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny. People will assume that a couple times they've thought I started out in Spanish because of my surname, because I'm of Cuban heritage. But no, I'm an American, and I did all my work in English. But when you're Cuban, you have to speak Spanish at home. Thank God.
Yes.
So I spoke some Spanish, not a lot. And then, I did the Florida Shakespeare Festival and the Coconut Grove Playhouse. I went to the University of Miami, and I played all these great classic
Oh, you're a fellow
roles.
Kane.
Fellow Kane.
Yes.
And then there's an audition, and I would do commercials in English and Spanish,
Claro.
theater in English. And then all of a sudden this novela audition comes along, and they're like, oh, they're shooting in Miami, and it's going to be an international cast, and they're open to Latin people that are American but that speak Spanish. And so I auditioned, and of course I wrote all my lines down in English right next to the Spanish ones so that I know what I'm saying. It was a crash course because I got the part, and it was a crash course in learning Spanish.
Really?
I realized, oh my gosh, girlfriend, you don't know that much at all. You need to.
But that happens a lot down here in Miami where I speak Spanish well, but people
Good.
generally think that, oh, I speak Spanish. And it's not so much that you speak Spanish, it's that you know how to say certain things.
Exactly.
You know how to go to La Ventanita and order the café con leche and the croqueta and the pastelito. And it's not necessarily
Right.
that you can speak, a monologue, right? To go back
Yeah.
to acting in Spanish.
Uh-huh.
And
You think that you speak it fluently because you speak it at home and you grew up with it. But when you are schooled in English and TV is in English and you are an American indeed, you are lacking when it comes to being able to, like, I can improvise anything in English, and in Spanish it takes thought.
yes.
So it was a challenge. Like, I took French in like middle school and in college. I'm like, why the heck didn't I take Spanish? Porque yo pensé que hablaba
Bueno,
español.
claro. You spoke Spanish at home. Ya tú hablabas español. You didn't have to learn
Yeah.
it.
So anyway, that was a wonderful experience for me in that I got to learn that, girlfriend, you need to practice your Spanish. So it was like immersion for me, and it was fun, and it was actually one of the projects I did right before I moved to LA.
Oh, okay. So then how long have you been in LA now?
Oh my goodness, 27 years.
Wow.
And let me tell you, it has flown by.
Yeah, really? Just
Absolutely flown by. I moved here in 1993. Isn't that wild?
You know what? I'm going to believe you because you say it, but I'm not going to believe you because you don't look old enough to have that be reality. So I'm just going to move on from that year. and
Well, I have
believe
that.
you.
My mom and my dad both had really good skin, so I have to say I take care of myself, but it's mostly genetic because my sister's older than I am, and she's got beautiful skin. And I can't say it's the Cuban genes, but maybe I can.
You can't say it's not. How's that?
Right.
So, on that, topic of, you did the novela, you went out to LA, and, you've had a broad spectrum of characters that you've played, right? I think it's fair to say. But, you have very consistently played Latina characters and really played it in a way that I admire because you're not playing hi, everybody, look, I'm a Latina. You're playing a character who happens to be Latina. And I'm sure you said you've been in LA for, a while now. You've probably seen the evolution of how that has happened, right? I mean, I know we're still not fully there.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's the progression is so slow.
Yeah.
To just be considered for all kinds of people of different skin tones, of different backgrounds, to just be considered one of the many Americans in the room without a huge application of all kinds of things tied to one's ethnicity or heritage. It is still so, I mean, I know they're being forced to right now. It is shocking. So much so that I don't know if you've noticed, but they have brought in actors that are Australian and British to play Americans, where they have to change their accents before they have thought of the American Latino, the American Asian, the American Indian person from India. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
They have brought in people that had to change their accents to play Americans. When we're right here, hello,
Right.
we love this country. We are not foreigners.
Right.
There are Latino foreigners. God bless them. And there are some that are not.
Right.
And we are part of this American story too. Can we just be one of the lawyers? Can we just be in the setting of the attorney's office? Can we be, and it not be a huge spotlight on a story about immigration or a story about gangs and maids? I mean, it's still too slow, man. Yeah. It's too slow. The fact that I got to play an American mom that happened to be of Mexican heritage was because Disney's been ahead of its time, honestly.
Oh, yes.
They did what I have always thought acting was going to be, which is all kinds of people get to come in the room and show you what they got. And the best one gets the part. That's how it was in college. That's how I got to play Toinette in The Imaginary Invalid, Mrs. Kendall with my British accent in The Elephant Man. That's when you get to be an actor. And then you come out into the professional world, and all of a sudden there are these boxes that you're put into.
Yep.
Every actor.
Yep.
Whether you're of Hispanic heritage or not, they put us all in boxes. The blonde, the bimbo, the smart one, the nerd. And that's what I tell actors, you cannot let them do that to you. You cannot embrace it. You need to know you're a certain kind of type.
What you can do, right.
But don't let them limit you if you know that you are limitless. Right. You have to stand so strong in that. And so, with Disney, they really wanted to find a fantastic young talent. They wanted to find somebody that had that it factor. And they really opened up those doors, and they got Selena Gomez. They embraced who she was because she was talented.
Right.
And then they went out to cast the family. And so they cast a Latina mom. But even so, they did not make it about the Latina-ness. Again, it is something that is part of us. It is not our complete identity. As with all these labels that are so popular right now, I think we should be celebrating, accepting, noticing, seeing, but it is not one monolithic identity.
That is our motto on this show.
And we can embrace our nationalities, of course. I love America. I love being an American. I love that my parents were from Cuba. I love that I have Catalan heritage. It's all wonderful. And we should all be able to be all that, not just have to pick one.
Right.
And even being all of that, it still doesn't tell you everything that we are. And we shouldn't have that pressure.
Yeah. And there's a certain, on one level, I get why the pressure exists because our stories haven't necessarily been told before. So the pressure from us, if you will, is we need to, embrace it. And we are more than just our background or our nationality or our skin tone. But at the same time, it's like we do have to embrace it because the story has to be told, damn it. But then at some point, it's like, to your point, can't it just be like, this is the character and there's other elements to them? I remember with Wizards, there was the Quinceañera episode.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I can't remember, and I'm a little old to be having been watching Wizards of Waverly Place, so but a good show's a good show. But
that's right. It was a family sitcom.
It was a family sitcom. It was great. I love sitcoms. But up until that point, I can't recall a moment where it was like, oh no, this is the Latino part of the show where we're going to, have you speak in Spanglish, which is probably badly written. It was just like, by the way, we're Hispanic, we're Latino. Part of that is having a quinceañera. Here's this episode where she's going to have that quinceañera. And then the next episode, she's going to turn her best friend's hair green. That's just how this works.
And I don't know if you remember also this fantastic episode where I was trying to teach Alex how to speak Spanish. Turns out she's flunking Spanish.
Okay.
Right, in the episode. And I'm talking to Mrs. Hong, her Spanish teacher. which is
That's great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? Don't put people in boxes. Who
Right.
says an Asian can't teach Spanish, right?
Shoot, listen.
Getting out of the box.
You speak French, and you're not French, so.
Exactly. And what was great was that wonderful phenomenon of, like we were speaking about earlier, being a first-generation American and thinking because your family or your parents are of a different language, speak a different language, and they speak it at home, and you kind of speak it, it's assumed that you speak it. Well, she's flunking Spanish. And then I feel like it's my responsibility to teach her, right? And it is hilarious. I'm trying to teach her Spanish, and she's like, I show her the lamp, and she goes, Lampito? You got to see that episode. It's a great episode. And I said to the writers, I said, I have never seen this common phenomenon of first generation Americans having to deal with not really knowing their family's language from their country of origin and feeling the pressure to learn it, especially Spanish because we're such a big number, especially Mexican Americans, which is what Teresa was. She was of Mexican heritage. They're very big numbers in the States. Like you've never seen that. You've never seen that on television.
No.
And it was done in a fun way because we laugh about it. We were laughing about it earlier, you and I.
Yep.
And I just love that our writers wrote that kind of episode.
It's great when they get it. When there's a writer's room or a creator, as it were, that kind of understands the nuance. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to is, you know, it's about intention and nuance because you can say, oh, well, this is a quote. Actually, I point a lot of times to like Sofia Vergara on Modern Family. You know, you can point to that character and be like, well, she's stereotypical and this and that. And I'm like, in certain elements, yes, she's a very broad character. The same way most sitcom characters are broad. But if you really stop and look at the fact that she's not Colombian in name only, she's a Colombian in the culture that she, you know, that she shows and the way she speaks and certain things she says. And so it's not just
and she really is from Colombia.
Right.
She's a brilliant comedian.
Absolutely.
And there's room for her, and she's gorgeous and sexy. There's room for that. And that's authentic to the character that is written and that she portrayed. But that's not all that we are as Hispanic people or even American people. Like, there's a difference. Like you were saying, there's these different nuances, and we should be able to be everything that we are. So, again, being able to be everything that we are, including just an American person.
Absolutely.
Disney's done that for many years before Hollywood is being forced to at gunpoint currently.
Yeah. I mean, they are. It's like, you know, you should change, damn it. And if you don't, we're going to make you. Which, you know, hey.
Yeah.
You know, change has got to come somehow. I mean, I just wish it was more organic.
Me too, because I've been so, like, idealistic my whole life. Mm-hmm. Where, like I said, I thought it would be, well, we'd get a chance to go in that room and whoever can do the role most convincingly is going to get it. But then I remember when I did really, really well at this callback for this show, and the character was Greek heritage from Chicago, and I did the Chicago accent.
It's good.
And the lady loved it, and she was like, and she said, right before I walked out the door, "Are you Greek?" And I didn't lie, and I said, "No." And, you know, I should have lied, but I didn't. Because, again, I think whoever I made you laugh, laugh the most, then you should give it to me. But they're not like that. And now I fear, see, here's the thing I'm concerned about, Ish. Mm-hmm. When things are changing now, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to change where they're going to bring in all kinds of people.
Right. And
the best one's going to get it. But I fear that there could be some of that. But I fear what might be happening is, oh, we'll give you your piece of the pie over here.
Right. Check the box, as I say.
We'll give you, okay, we've got the Latino show over here.
Right.
Oh, it's like, oh, you want to be authentic. Okay, well then, if you are of this heritage, I'm going to make sure that that I don't cast a Mexican person for this Cuban role. No, 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 no. Don't make it smaller for us.
Yeah.
In the name of authenticity. No, 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 no. The way we want to be authentic is being part of the American quilt. That's what we want it to be authentic. You understand what I mean? I don't want you to now. I don't want them to segregate now.
Right.
Segregator.
Yeah. No.
In the name of representation, don't put me in a little segregated box here and say you're under the tent.
Yep. My background is marketing, and I always say, my specialty is actually multicultural marketing. And many times when people claim to be doing multicultural marketing, all that means is that they went and they're like, we bought BET, we bought Telemundo, and we're done. That's it. We're covering the bases. And it's like, but that's such a small part of it. It's not, to your point, it's like, guess what? We watch other things. We have other media that we consume and all of that. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that fear.
Well, what's so funny is I remember when we were promoting Cristela,
which is a great show, by the way.
Who was about an American girl from Texas who had a tough life, who embraced her Mexican culture, was very American. I remember they had her do, again, it's misplaced. It's not, they don't mean to do it. They had her doing Spanish television.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's great, but I don't know that Spanish-speaking people are necessarily gonna watch it. We should, definitely do all television promotion, because they still think of it as a foreign, separate thing. We are not foreign and separate, the American Latino or the American Asian or the like I'm talking about all of us that have come from parents that come from another country, and so it's still it's fascinating because sometimes in the past I've had an audition where the character is they want a person of Hispanic heritage,
mm-hmm.
and there'll be people there with very from another country.
Okay.
And that's great. But is the character from another country? Because I'll do it. I can do any accent. I played Argentinian, Mexican, Brazilian, Italian. I can do it.
Can I stop you for a moment there just because you said Argentinian? I saw on Fuller House where you played Juan Pablo Di Pace's mother. He's been on the show. In what were you 5 when you had him? Because there's no world where you are old enough to be his mother. I'm sorry. They put that little gray streak in your hair. I'm like, sure. No, she is not old enough to be this man's mother. I'm just putting that out there.
Well, it's true that he's a little older than, and whatever. He looks young, but he's a little bit older, and so do I. So it's kind of weird. But to my credit, I said to the director, Cameron Burr, I said, listen, I'm open to wrinkles. You can wrinkle me up. I'm an actress. And she's like, oh, it's a sitcom. We'll just put a gray streak in your hair and it'll be fine. And I said, oh, good. But, for film, of course. In fact, I just did a movie where I look like complete crap. And I really enjoyed it. It's called Seven Cemeteries, and it's with Danny Trejo.
Ooh.
And I play a bruja.
Okay.
Like one of those curandera types.
Oh, okay.
Mexican American in the Southwest that and it's humorous. It's very funny too. It's fantastic. The script is hilarious, but it's also scary. I bring people back from the dead, including Danny. Efrain from Napoleon Dynamite, Pedro plays my husband.
Oh, okay, yes. He's great.
He's hilarious. I bring him back from the dead, so he's kind of a zombie, and I do these spells, and I look horrendous, no glam, and it's like it's fabulous because I'm a glamour puss, so it's great that I'm mostly an actress, and I've done lots of theater, and my husband's like, just totally embrace it. And I said, I want to. So, it's the kind of stuff where instead of fixing your flaws, they make them bigger. She's supposed to be like, She's a cross between a bag lady and a homeless bag lady, and what was the other thing? Like a Gen Xer, just something really funny. But she's supposed to look like, like the director was like, "Can you give us some liver spots?
Oh yeah.
Can you give her more wrinkles?" And I was like, "Go for it." And it was great. It was great fun. I wore this crazy wig, and so anyway, yeah, I had a great time on Fuller House, and he's really funny. And again, he's doing his thing. He can be that funny character, and he can also play other roles. And we should be able to play everything that we can.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Juan Pablo Di Pace can play Jesus,
He was so good.
and he was so good. Like, really, like, you want to talk about no limits, right? Like, if an Argentinian can play Jesus, I think anybody should be allowed to, give it a shot.
Yeah, it shouldn't even matter
At all.
where he's from. It shouldn't matter at all.
At all.
You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't matter at all. And we're still working on it. They're still working on it.
But, we'll get there. But so before we close out, I just want to say, so I know you say it shouldn't matter where we come from, and I agree with you, but at the end of the day,
Right.
We are Miamians. And you have an upcoming stint on Kenan where you are playing opposite Mr. Miami Vice himself, Don Johnson. What
I
was
know,
that
it's
like?
That was so cool. I've already done a few episodes. I start in season 2, you'll see me. I play Loretta Lopez. I move in next door.
Okay.
Of course, I can't stand Don Johnson. We hate each other. And we fight and we don't get along. But of course, as these things are, we're madly in love. And the reason we're fighting is because we don't want to be attracted to each other. Well, he's amazing. First of all, he looks fantastic.
Does.
He looks incredible. And he's just a consummate freaking pro, as well as an icon. Everything he's also a producer on the show.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And everything he says is like right. Because he's so seasoned. Like he'll say, the camera should come from here, and then what do you think about this and that? And then it's like, of course.
What are you going to argue? The guy's been doing this,
And he and Kenan and Chris, like, you can see that they really get along and they respect each other and they're funny together. And again, it's about the people, not the color.
Right.
Of course, it's part of it that he's white and they're black and I'm Latina, but it's not everything. It's there and it's part of us, of course, but it's about the relationships and the situations and like life is, and it's really wonderful. I'm so excited to be part of it. I love those guys.
That show, I have to say, again, I'm a huge sitcom fan in general, so whenever a sitcom shows up, I'm going to watch it. And I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I was going to. Because I love Kenan since forever. I mean, I grew up with watching Kenan. But, it was one of those all right, I'll watch it. And I found myself every week just, okay, new episode. It was just so freaking funny. And in a very, I don't want this to sound like I'm being, like a diss or anything, but in a throwback kind of way. Like, it is a classic family type sitcom. I mean, it has its little adult, moments and double entendres and here and there's, but it really is a sitcom that I feel you could sit down and watch with a family. And you don't get that a lot on network television nowadays, I don't think.
Yeah, like he's making the effort to be a good dad. And it's beautiful to see. And it's done in a very humorous way. And I mean, everything that comes out of Kenan's mouth and Chris Redd, they're just, those people that no matter what they say, they're just funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Well, they probably have to go out of their way to not be funny at a funeral because. Or do you want to know something funny? My first big funeral when I was a young teen with my sister, my mother, my sister, and I were going to a funeral. My mother said, "Niñas, cuando vamos a la funeraria, no se ríen." Oh. And my sister and I were like, "Pero mami, ¿cómo nos vamos a reír? Por favor, no digas eso." She goes, "Quiero que sepan que no es buena costumbre reírse en una funeraria." Pero pues claro, mami, my God, what is she thinking? So we're looking at the corpse, and my sister goes, "Mami, ¿cómo se siente? What does it feel like? The corpse. What does it feel like if you were to touch it,
Oh no.
what does it feel like, their skin? And my mother said, frío, se siente frío? And she goes, frío como frío, mamita, como tanto frío. Frío como muerto. My sister started cracking up. And then I started cracking up. My mother's nightmare came true at the thought that she compared it to what it was.
In your defense, though, she made it reality because by making you guys laugh, she made the thing happen she didn't want to happen.
She manifested one of her most embarrassing moments. It's cold. What do you mean cold? Cold like a dead person.
I mean,
a dead person is as cold as a dead person. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. So that's a sitcom moment right there.
You've got to love that circular mom logic.
So you were born in Miami?
Born and raised Miami boy, yeah. Born in Westchester.
And
Westchester. Yeah, I got my little Westchester things shirt on, so representing.
Oh, is that what it says?
Yeah, it says
that is
Westchester
hilarious.
things.
Do you know that I assumed that it said
Stranger Things?
Right. Wait, check that. Oh, that is fabulous.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Where did you grow up? What area?
Hialeah.
Hialeah. Okay, all right. That's
where all the cute West Hialeah, near Miami Lakes.
Okay.
So there was some English spoken in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Once in a while, when you go to like Publix.
Yeah, because we were near Miami Lakes, and we had all kinds. We actually had American non-Hispanics in the neighborhood. Just a few.
But that's enough to differentiate it from the rest of Hialeah.
Yeah, what was like los americanos?
Los americanos.
Pero pregúntale a la americana. My mother would say, la americana dijo que blah, blah, blah. That's what they would say about somebody. So I remember when I met my husband out here in LA, who is born and raised in Texas, and his parents are born and raised in Texas, but they're of Mexican heritage.
Okay.
And he went to SMU, right? And he knew some Cubans that went there, Cuban Americans. And when I met him, and he's like, "Oh, you're Cuban?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Cuban." And he goes, "I know we say it with such pride."
We do.
And my mom goes, he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you from Hialeah?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, pero how did you know?"
Oye, Hialeah, la fama de Hialeah.
All you guys are from.
La fama de Hialeah llegó hasta Texas.
Because he he went to SMU, and the actors there were from Miami, like from the New World School of the Arts and all this. And they were all from like Hialeah. So I was like blown away that he knew. He goes, "That's where you guys are all from, isn't it?"
He's not entirely wrong.
I said mostly.
As you fanned yourself. Oye, Maria, I could go on talking to you for like 17 more hours. Like, honestly, it's when I tell you earlier that you were on the wish list of guests, it was not blowing smoke. It was absolutely 100% true, and it has been even more enjoyable than I had anticipated and could have dreamed. So
thank you so much, Ish. That means a lot to me. Our mutual friend Danny made this happen.
Yes, he did, Danny. Let me say something, Danny. It's funny because I have yet to meet him actually in person.
He's a blast.
I'm actually going to be in LA in end of January, February, and I'm ya estoy like, okay, guy, Danny, we need to like meet up because he's phenomenal. Like,
oh, and he can give you a tour that no one knows these things that he knows. He is brilliant when it comes to the gems that exist in LA and Burbank specifically.
Yes, he seems beyond knowledgeable.
Yes, and he's a total blast, and I'm very grateful that he helped put us together, and it was my honor to be part of your show.
Oh well, listen, as a Cuban American, as a Miami boy, as a DC Comics geek, this has been my pleasure and honor to chat with you, and honestly, like whenever you want to swing by, aquí estamos.
Thank you so much, and give my love to DJ. I didn't get to meet him.
I will. Un abrazo.
And we're back.
She was a blast. Like I even say it. It's like honestly, I could have sat and talked to her for
I'm
like
so
a day and a
bummed I
half.
missed that interview. But
I know
then again,
you were off being a responsible adult.
yeah, I was off, trying to change the world.
Whatever.
But every now, but I would have probably preferred to than having that great interview with her.
Yeah.
So she was fun.
She was. She's just one of these people who, like, we've said it many times. There are people who just from the minute you start talking, you click, and it's like, okay, you get me, I get you. We're gonna get along just fine. So she was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Maria Elena. We need to have another. Maybe we'll do it next season.
Another novela episode.
Another novela episode.
Should we like curate the novelas that we're going to talk about? Like you pick one, I pick one, and we kind of come to the table with it.
Well, no, we would have to pick like 10.
Well, yes, but
Right. Because it's really funny that yesterday, after trivia, I was talking to some friends, and one of my friends was telling me, which we say this all the time, that when you grow up with immigrant parents, there's a lot of things you have to find out on your own. I know your experience is a little bit different because your parents were raised here. Yeah. But, like I've said this a million times. I didn't know. I had heard of the Beatles, but I didn't know the Beatles music. It wasn't until I was in high school that ABC came out with the Beatles anthology. That mini series that I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and learn, watch,
right,
and know what these Beatles are about because I can remember growing parents. My parents didn't, whatever.
Yes. Your mother only knew about Boney M,
but she did know about Boney M. She did.
You were learning about the wrong. You should have asked her about Boney M.
Right. So, well, anyway, she was telling me, she was like, oh, that's like growing up. I didn't watch American sitcoms. I watched like Rubí. Like, y la usurpadora. Y los ricos también lloran. I'm like, of course.
Yes, of course.
Hashtag growing up Hispanic or Latinx or Latin or Latino
Colombian
or
whatever.
I'm like, right, because that's what you do. You
just grew up watching that.
That's part of the Latin experience, You watch novelas. But you know what, though? I have to tell you. Actually, let me ask you something.
Okay.
If you had to pick between American soap operas and Spanish novelas, which one would you get?
Ooh, so it's okay. So I've seen both. I'm actually, as I've mentioned, I'm watching Days of Our Lives now. Again, I picked up, 30 years later.
Well, because Jack Hay is on.
Because Jack Hay is on it and Marlena's possessed again. So I mean, like, if there's an opportunity for Jack Hay to meet the devil, I'm in.
Right.
As a rule. She did have a scene with her as the devil, and it was great. I mean, just picture Sandra Clark meeting Satan.
Yeah. Like, oh, Hail Mary.
Exactly. Somebody say Hail Mary. But there's something comforting about a Spanish novela.
So you would pick a Spanish novela?
I would pick a Spanish novela just because it has a beginning and an end. Right. So it's a little. I can plan my life around it a little more. Like I know it has a shelf life. It's gonna be over.
I would also pick Spanish novelas as well because Spanish novelas, I think, are like everything else. You have your really good ones and you have your bad ones and you have your mediocre ones. But I think that the really good ones are really good.
Especially because I feel there's so few and far between. That when they pop up, like because they churn out a lot,
right? But they're really good, and the really good ones not only. I mean, I know sometimes we laugh at like some soap operas we watched about growing up, like even the Thalia soap operas. But seriously, like. Mexican culture, like what we were talking earlier in the show about, like how we're we have a lot of similarities, but we also are very different. Think about like all the things we learned about Mexican culture watching
that's
Thalia,
true. That's true. Platicar, La
Chamba,
what's some other?
Magripina.
What are some other ththings that I learned?
No, like a ton of stuff.
Yeah, no. I'm just thinking. Like I'm thinking now because it's like, but you're right. There's just certain things that
everybody celebrates Kingses.
But there's certain things that we didn't even think about at the time that we were being exposed to.
Ahora despierta la mujer. But I love Spanish soap opera. I still do.
And I haven't seen a Spanish soap opera in forever.
And then like Maria Elena, for those of you who remember Maria Elena was so much of a shared experience because everybody in Miami watched Maria Elena.
And that was back when you only had 4 channels. Yeah. So
Right, but I still believe, but even soap operas nowadays are still on like the major.
Yeah, no. But what I mean is, but everybody, if you didn't watch it
Right,
Monday at 7,
But the thing about Maria Elena was that Maria Elena was shot here in Miami,
yeah,
and it had a lot of Cuban actors that were famous in Cuba.
right. But what I mean is, it was a time before DVR. It was a time before shifted viewing, so you had to watch
Which,
it.
if you come to think about it, it was quite the feat because Maria Elena like had the two leads were two huge stars.
Yeah,
Lucia Mende and Enrique Llanes were two enormous stars. Like they were like the biggest in that genre.
Yeah.
But the rest of the cast were
locals. Yeah.
And people that were like famous in Cuba that had come here and all that, and somehow it worked. So here we are talking about Maria Elena.
Oh well.
And then came Guadalupe.
Quien pudiera.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we need to have a another
novela retrospective.
So
yes.
It's soda time.
It is soda time.
I'm giving a big flat soda today.
Oh, you've got a flat one? Okay.
I got a flat 2-liter soda to give.
All right, bring it on.
No, I'm giving this flat 2-liter soda. Like I'm getting like a Costco BJ's like box.
Like beyond generic.
Great.
Okay.
Right. To Josh Duggar.
Oh, yes. I completely forgot. Yes.
So for those of you who have not heard, this week
It literally just happened like as we're recording.
Duggar was found guilty of child pornography. Now, let me say something. Something that I generally do not do, just me as a person, and you know this, no matter how despicable somebody is, I've never been the type of person to kick somebody while they're down.
You don't take pleasure in others' misfortune.
I don't. Even if they're
you don't.
awful.
You don't. And
beings.
God knows.
Even if they're
there have
awful
been some
beings,
moments.
because even
But that's just not who you are.
That's
You're not that person.
Even if they're, as I said, an awful person, I'm like, you know what? the universe,
Will take care
God,
of it.
whatever, will.
See, karma will sort you out.
Yes, the legal system, whatever. But I have to say that with Josh Duggar and the Duggars, I wouldn't say joy, but the irony of it is very delicious. Because
would it be fair to say you're having a moment of Schadenfreude?
I guess if you want to put it that way.
Yes.
Because the Duggars, just a little quick retrospective. Josh Duggar is from the Duggar family from 19 and counting. You know,
he's the oldest son, right?
He is the oldest. The family that had 19 kids, and they were on TLC forever. And another thing that I was a first on. I have been freaking. I don't want to use the word hate.
Tú nunca lo masticaste ni lo tragaste.
Tragaste vomitando. I've been strongly disliking that family for
You
quite
knew something
some time.
was up.
For
You
quite
knew
some
something
time.
was up.
For years.
Yes,
For
yes,
years.
yes.
I remember when they were on TLC and everybody would be like, oh my God, she's still pregnant. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, Iago
doesn't smell right.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know. I always, and not that I'm like the best judge of character in the world,
Right.
but I always saw the hypocrisy.
Something's off.
Because I'm like, esta mujer pare todos estos niños, so then the younger ones can raise the older ones.
Right. She's
Right?
having them to let others raise them.
Right. And one thing is for you to, like, your kids give them responsibility and do chores and all that. But another thing, it's like, okay, your 10-year-old daughter should not be in charge of,
Your 6-month-old
of
kid.
your 6-month-old kid. Right. And it was only the girls. Right.
Right.
So it's just something with the Duggars never, ever sat right with me. I think they were the hypocrisy of it, that they put out themselves to be this like ultra Christian, ultra conservative family, but then they were milking the system por el otro lado,
Right.
with all these not that there's anything wrong with that, but
we love our endorsements.
you're not as pure as you seem to be.
Yeah.
And then obviously the whole thing with Josh Duggar, some years back, it came out that he was on, what was it, Holly Madison?
I think it was Holly. No,
Holly Madison is
Madison's
one of the
one of the Playboy
Playboy
bunnies.
Ese
mismo, the one for Cheers.
The site that you can go on if you're married.
Well, people would sign up basically to find a mistress.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was like his first hooray into that. And then the whole thing about how he sexually molested his sisters, right? And his parents swept it under the rug. His parents, los puritanos.
Right. Because heaven forbid the golden child have any.
Right.
Any
And then they found him with child pornography.
Right. On his computer.
So did the devil make him do it? Right, and then that was my problem with the Duggars is that then they used their
They have the audacity.
they used their pool or
their name,
if you will, to get politically involved with like ultra like conservative Christian like
right, telling you how to live your life.
Right. And look at what they were doing, because you know what, you don't know what your kid is gonna do, right?
Fair enough.
Right. You don't know.
You don't pay for the sins of your child.
But those people, they found out that he was sexually molesting their daughters, and they completely swept it under the rug.
Yeah, but girls don't matter in that family.
Right. They completely swept it under the rug.
Girls don't matter in that religion.
But okay, what they should have done, I mean, that's their son at the end of the day. What they should have done is get that kid out of the house.
Put him in a program.
Right.
Put him
in something, and they didn't. They didn't do none of that. I think they sent him it was like
a work camp,
or like a life coach or something.
No, it was a work camp.
Right, but this is a more serious thing, and it's just they're a bunch of hypocrites. All of them, they're a bunch of hypocrites. I don't buy none of that. I don't buy what they're selling. I was like, so that's all fake.
Very much so.
And there you go. And there's been a couple already of the Duggar daughters that have distanced themselves.
Yes, the ones that actually still have shows on TLC.
From that, because and they've said it that they don't necessarily agree with like all the upbringings they've had, that they had, and so a big flat
economy size soda
for you, Josh Duggar, and the whole Duggar clan. Ugh.
Yeah, he's a piece of garbage.
Jim Bob, their dad, and Michelle Duggar, por favor. Give me a break. La gente así tan santa, those are the ones that you have to fear the
Le tienes que
most.
tener miedo. Yes.
Literally.
It's true. It's very true. Well,
we just lost the Duggar and Door. The Duggars aren't coming on our show
They're not coming on our show anytime soon. Damn it. Damn it. And I had them lined up for February for Valentine's Day. So my last soda is actually going to someone who had some very bad news recently, and just this week on social media decided to share it with all of his fans, and it really touched me and made me cry and just in a way that I didn't think would happen. So as some of you may or may not know, if you've been listening for 180 episodes, I am a comic book fan. And one of my favorite comic book artists, his name is George Perez. He's an iconic comic book artist. He co-created the Teen Titan characters, Starfire, Cyborg, Raven. He co-created Nightwing. He's been credited with essentially really bringing Wonder Woman to the level of respect that she currently has when he, restarted her series in the 80s. Just a fantastic guy. I've met him at a con. He was absolutely delightful. He had already semi-retired from the industry because he has very bad diabetes and he had already gone blind in one eye. Just this week, he announced that he got some additional bad news that he has pancreatic cancer. And they gave him the opportunity to do some radiation, but he declined. And so he basically has said he only has about 6 months to live. And so this is just someone who, like, I can recall, just being such an influence, making me want to draw, making me want to, I have freaking Nightwing's logo tattooed on my body. Like, these are characters that I've always loved. And his post was beautiful enough. And one of the things he said was like, I know after last year, but everything happened, but I really hope that we can just do one last Comic Con where I can literally just meet and hug every single one of you. And the amount, for all of the vitriol that social media generates and the hatred, the amount of beautiful comments and pictures that are still being posted to his page after that comment is just, you can get bogged down in how horrible people are, but you see things like that, people talking about their meetings with him, how, every time there was a con, they would go there, how he, danced with them at a party, how he helped them with no sé qué cosa. And it's just, he just genuinely seemed like a really, really nice person who has been dealt a horrible hand in, health-wise. But he even at this point is choosing to look at things on the bright side. And if you read comics,
how old is he?
He's in late 60s. He's not even 70. If you read comics, you've seen his influence in everything. I mean, one of our early guests, Phil Jimenez, pretty much his entire art style is based on, or a progression of the George Perez style. So much so that his first big break was he was brought in to finish a miniseries that George could not finish because the two had such similar styles. So it's just it just really touched me in a way that I didn't think it would, but it just made me realize, those are the little things that you look back on and it makes you happy, and you never realize how big of a part someone has played in your life, even if they don't really know you. So, my last soda goes out to George Perez, a legend and a gentleman. And I really do hope that if they do some type of coordination, because I know he lives in Orlando, I would just drive up. I would just drive up and just, I would put on my Nightwing costume and go up there and get that one last thank you to him. But maybe he'll hear this and know that he means a lot to me and to so many others.
Oh, wow. That's so nice. Especially after I gave my vitriol, Duggar.
Yeah.
When you're going to give these, really sentimental,
better to end on mine than yours.
Nice last sodas, meaningful ones, you need to check mine first, because then it's okay, I gave one to
Well, would you rather end on yours or
no,
mine?
but I would have probably changed my last soda, but
No, but it's supposed to be spur of the moment. That's the beauty of our show.
I mean, I guess, he's still alive, and
Yes.
he's still here, and that's what matters. But I guess you could say life well lived.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've seen interviews with him where he, again, Teen Titans has the cartoon on Cartoon Network, and he's always said, he's like, I had no clue back in 1980, whatever, when I created these characters, that they would take on this life of their own and still be around. So, again, I met him once. He could not have been lovelier, and I have the sketch that I had him draw sitting right above my desk, so I do see it every day when I work.
Very nice.
So that's my last soda. Wraps up episode 186.
Well, on that note, so next week is our final episode.
Final episode of 2021.
Final episode.
Yes, it is.
And we will be taking a break. We, for those of you who have followed us since day one, we usually stop mid-December, and we usually come back the end of January.
Mid to late January.
Yeah, mid to late January. We give you a break.
Yes.
You give us a break.
But it's the perfect time to catch up on our episodes you may have missed, or share those episodes with people you think will enjoy us.
Yes. So we'll give you more info on that in our next episode. And I think we have something special lined up for our last episode.
We're trying to coordinate something special. Yes.
So we're hopefully going to go out with a bit of a bang.
Yes.
For the year. What a year it's been. And nada. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yep, that is episode 186. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.